Have you ever noticed how some kinds of tiredness don't go away? No matter how much you rest, you sleep through the night, you take time off, you cancel plans, you finally sit down, and yet, inside you still feel drained. Your body may be still, but your mind feels alert. Your calendar is clear, but your chest feels tight. Your bed is comfortable, but your thoughts won't settle. If that sounds familiar, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not lazy, you are not broken, and you are not failing at rest. What you are experiencing is something much deeper than physical fatigue. It's what happens when the body sleeps, but the nervous system never truly stands down. And today we're going to talk about why that happens, from both neuroscience and scripture, in a way that brings clarity, not pressure. There's nowhere you need to go, nothing you need to fix right now. Just stay with me. Why modern rest often fails. Most of us were taught quietly, indirectly, but consistently that rest means stopping. Stopping work, stopping movement, stopping responsibility, stopping output. We were taught that exhaustion is solved by subtraction. Do less, cancel more, sleep longer, slow down. And on the surface, that makes sense. So when we feel depleted, we instinctively try to remove activity. We clear the calendar. We lie down. We turn off the noise. We finally give ourselves permission to pause. But then something confusing happens. The body stops, yet the mind keeps going. The muscles soften, yet the chest still feels tight. The room is quiet, yet the inside of you feels loud. And slowly, a question forms. Often unspoken, often loaded with guilt. Why am I still tired when I'm finally resting? This is where many people turn inward and assume something is wrong with them. Maybe I don't know how to rest properly. Maybe I'm bad at slowing down. Maybe I'm undisciplined. Maybe I'm ungrateful. Maybe I should be enjoying this more. But the problem is not that you're resting incorrectly. The problem is that rest has been reduced to stillness, when what your system is actually craving is safety. Because rest is not just about what the body is doing. It's about what the nervous system believes. You can stop moving and still be internally bracing. You can lie down and still feel like something bad might happen. You can sit on a couch, wrapped in a blanket, and still feel a subtle tension running through your chest, your jaw, your shoulders. That tension isn't random. It's your nervous system asking a question. Is it really safe to relax right now? You see, the nervous system does not respond to schedules. It does not respond to good intentions. It does not respond to the words, I should be resting. It responds to perceived threat. And perceived threat doesn't always look like danger. Sometimes it looks like uncertainty, unresolved conflict, emotional pressure, financial stress, the need to stay available, the fear of letting someone down, the habit of always being on. So even when the body stops, the nervous system may stay alert, because from its perspective, rest is not the same as safety. This is why you can take a vacation and spend the entire time feeling restless. You may be physically removed from your responsibilities, but mentally you are still carrying them. The nervous system does not measure rest in hours or locations. It measures rest in signals. Signals that say, you are protected. You are not in danger. You don't have to brace. You don't have to anticipate. You don't have to stay alert. Without those signals, the system stays on. This is why modern rest often fails. Because modern rest focuses almost entirely on the body, and very little on the system that decides whether the body can relax. We live in a culture that celebrates stopping, but rarely teaches settling. We know how to disengage from tasks, but we don't know how to disengage from vigilance. We know how to lie down, but we don't know how to stand down internally. And that internal standing down is everything. Because the nervous system sits beneath thought. It operates faster than logic, faster than intention, faster than belief. You cannot talk it into calm. You cannot shame it into rest. You cannot force it to trust. It lives deeper than thought, deeper than willpower, deeper than understanding. It lives in the body, in the breath, in the heart rate, in muscle tension, in hormonal signals. in unconscious patterns learned over time. This is why telling yourself everything is fine often doesn't help. Your nervous system isn't listening to your words. It's listening to your state. It's asking, is the environment predictable? Is connection available? Is there unresolved danger? Is rest allowed without consequence? And if the answer is unclear, it chooses alertness over ease, because alertness once kept you alive. This is especially true for people who have lived for long periods under stress. Not dramatic stress, not always visible stress, but chronic stress. The stress of responsibility without relief. The stress of being needed constantly. The stress of emotional caretaking. The stress of never fully feeling done. Over time, the nervous system adapts. It learns that stillness is not always safe. That silence may precede demand. That rest may be interrupted. So it stays awake. Not because it wants to exhaust you, but because it learned that vigilance is protection. This is why some people feel most anxious when things finally slow down. When there is no task to focus on, no distraction to lean into, no problem to solve. Because busyness can act like a sedative. And rest removes that sedative. It exposes the raw state underneath. So when modern rest says, stop doing, but never addresses you are safe now, the system stays locked, and exhaustion continues. This is not a personal failure. It is a design mismatch. You were never meant to rest by disconnection alone. You were meant to rest through regulation, through reassurance, through presence, through trust. This is why Scripture never describes rest as mere inactivity. Biblical rest is relational. It is rooted in being held, guided, watched over. The Lord is my shepherd. That is not a productivity statement. It is a safety statement. It tells the nervous system, you are not alone. You are not managing this by yourself. You are being led. And that changes everything. Because when the nervous system senses leadership, steady, protective, consistent leadership, it finally releases control. It stops scanning. It stops bracing. It stops preparing for impact. And then rest becomes restorative. Until then, rest is just stopping. And stopping without safety often feels like falling, which is why so many people resist it. So if you've ever thought, I don't know how to rest, rest makes me anxious. I feel worse when I slow down. I sleep but never feel restored. That doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your system learned to survive and hasn't yet learned that it's allowed to recover. And that learning takes something deeper than time off. Takes a shift in what the nervous system believes about who is holding the weight. That is the kind of rest we will keep exploring together. Not escape, not numbing, not collapse, but restoration. Physical rest and nervous system restoration. Your nervous system has one primary job: to keep you alive. Not to make you successful. Not to make you spiritual. Not to make you productive, disciplined, or impressive. Its job is survival. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, and even while you sleep, your nervous system is constantly scanning. It is asking one essential question over and over again. Am I safe? It scans your environment for danger, for uncertainty, for emotional threat, for relational instability, for overload, for pressure, for rejection, for loss of control. And when it perceives anything that could threaten your well-being, whether that threat is physical, emotional, psychological, or relational, it responds instantly. Not thoughtfully, not logically, but reflexively. When stress is detected, the nervous system releases chemicals like cortisol and adrenaline. These chemicals are not evil. They are not mistakes. They are not the problem. They are protective. Cortisol mobilizes energy. Adrenaline sharpens focus. Your heart rate increases. Your muscles tense. Your senses heighten. You become more alert, more vigilant, more prepared to respond. This is what allows a person to brake in time to avoid an accident, to react quickly in a crisis, to push through danger. In short bursts, this system saves lives. But here is where the trouble begins. When stress is no longer short-term, when it becomes chronic, when the stress is emotional, not just situational, relational, not just physical, financial, not just occasional, spiritual, not just circumstantial, when the threat isn't a lion but a lingering fear, not a sudden emergency, but ongoing uncertainty, not a moment but a lifestyle. The nervous system does something it was never designed to do. It stops turning off. Even when the body lies down, even when the lights go out, even when the room is quiet, even when the eyes are closed, the nervous system stays on guard. This is why someone can sleep 8 hours and wake up exhausted. This is why rest doesn't always feel restorative. This is why peace feels elusive even in stillness. Because sleep restores the muscles, but safety restores the soul. A dysregulated nervous system does not interpret rest as safety. It interprets rest as vulnerability. And so it stays alert, scanning, bracing, preparing. This is why anxiety often intensifies at night, why racing thoughts show up in the quiet, why peace feels hardest to access when there are no distractions left. The mind is not malfunctioning. The nervous system is doing its job. It is trying to protect you, but protection without resolution becomes prison. This is why Jesus' invitation is so profound. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11 verse 28. Notice what Jesus addresses here. Not productivity, not time management, not efficiency, not performance. He addresses burden. Labor implies strain. Heavy laden implies weight, carrying more than the system can hold. Jesus is not merely offering sleep. He is offering relief from internal load. He is speaking to people whose nervous systems are overwhelmed, to people whose inner world is tense, vigilant, exhausted, to people who are functioning but not resting. This rest he speaks of is not inactivity. It is safety. It is the restoration of trust, the settling of vigilance, the quieting of the internal alarm system. When the soul feels safe, the nervous system follows. This is why spiritual practices that focus only on discipline but not safety often fail to bring peace. You can read scripture with a braced body. You can pray with clenched muscles. You can worship with a guarded heart. And the nervous system will not interpret that as rest. Renewal does not happen through force. It happens through felt safety. This is why scripture does not merely inform the mind. It reorients the nervous system. Be still and know that I am God. Stillness is not just silence. It is the absence of threat. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Provision calms survival anxiety. Perfect love casts out fear, because fear is a nervous system response to perceived danger. When scripture is meditated on slowly, repeated gently, spoken aloud, written by hand, it does more than teach. It signals safety. It tells the nervous system, you are not alone. You are not responsible for everything. You are held. You are guided. You are protected. This is why transformation doesn't come from information alone. It comes from regulation. A regulated nervous system can hear God clearly. A dysregulated one hears threat everywhere. This is why living in constant fight, flight, or freeze, what many call FFF mode, makes God feel distant, silent, or hard to discern. Not because God has stopped speaking, but because the system is too busy scanning for danger to listen. The renewing of the mind is not merely replacing thoughts. It is retraining the nervous system to recognize safety in truth. And this takes repetition, gentleness, consistency, not striving, not forcing, not condemning yourself for not doing it right. The nervous system learns through experience, not pressure. This is why Jesus says, "Take my yoke upon you, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Gentleness is not weakness. It is regulation. And rest is not laziness. It is alignment. When the soul feels safe, the body follows. When the heart trusts, the mind quiets. When burden lifts, clarity returns. This is how renewal actually happens. Not by pushing harder, but by coming closer. If this explanation is helping you understand yourself, and maybe even release some self-blame, you're welcome to subscribe. This channel exists to explore how faith and neuroscience meet in the quiet places of the human mind. Why the brain stays tired even when the body sleeps. There is a difference between being tired and being worn down. Mental fatigue comes from constant decision-making. Emotional fatigue comes from carrying unresolved feelings. Spiritual fatigue comes from striving instead of abiding. Your brain does not just respond to what you do. It responds to what you carry. Unspoken grief, unfinished conversations, hyper-responsibility, the pressure to be okay for others. This creates something neuroscience calls hypervigilance, a state where the brain remains alert, even when nothing is happening. Hypervigilance is exhausting, not because you are weak, but because vigilance requires energy. He restores my soul. Psalm 23. Not distracts it, not numbs it, restores it. Emotional load and why it exhausts us. You can lift heavy objects all day and feel tired in a clean, honest way. Your muscles ache. Your body knows what it did. There is a beginning and an end. You worked, you finished, you rest. That kind of tiredness makes sense to the brain. But emotional weight is different. Emotional weight does not announce itself. It doesn't arrive neatly labeled, and it doesn't tell you when it's finished. It settles quietly, in the chest, in the jaw, in the background of your thoughts. Emotional load has no clear endpoint. There is no signal that says, you can put this down now. And because there is no finish line, the brain keeps working even when you stop moving, keeps replaying conversations, scanning for mistakes, anticipating outcomes, rehearsing what might happen next. Not loudly, not dramatically, but constantly. This is what makes emotional exhaustion so confusing. You can wake up already tired, even though nothing has happened yet. You can spend an entire day doing very little and still feel completely drained by evening because something was happening. Internally, your nervous system was processing unresolved weight, worry without resolution, responsibility without rest, care without containment. This is the kind of tiredness people struggle to explain. They say things like, I didn't even do anything today. I don't know why I'm exhausted. I feel lazy, but I know I'm not. And often they feel guilty for it. But emotional fatigue is not laziness. It is unacknowledged labor. Labor the nervous system performs silently. Every unresolved emotion becomes a background task. Every uncertainty becomes a low-level alert. Every relationship tension becomes something the brain tries to solve. And unlike physical work, emotional work has no off switch, unless safety is restored. This is why emotional load drains energy quietly. It doesn't spike exhaustion all at once. It leaks it away, like a phone with too many apps running in the background. Nothing looks wrong on the surface, but the battery keeps dying. You might notice difficulty concentrating, irritability over small things, a constant sense of pressurelessness even in quiet moments. These are not character flaws. They are signs of a nervous system that has been carrying more than it was designed to hold alone. And here is something important. The brain does not distinguish between real danger and perceived emotional threat, unspoken conflict, fear of rejection, financial uncertainty, unprocessed grief, spiritual pressure to get it right. All of these activate the same systems meant to protect you from physical harm. So even when your body is safe, your nervous system may not feel that way, which means it doesn't rest. It waits. It braces. It stays alert. This is why rest without peace does not restore. You can stop activity, but still be internally managing, still monitoring, still anticipating, still holding things together. This is where Scripture speaks with remarkable clarity. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. This verse is not poetic decoration. It is a declaration of load transfer. A shepherd takes responsibility for direction, safety, provision, which means the sheep does not need to manage those things. I shall not want does not mean I will never desire. It means I am not lacking what I need to survive. In other words, I am not on my own. Rest, in this sense, is not about escaping life. It is about releasing false responsibility. The responsibility to control outcomes, prevent every mistake, manage everyone's emotions, anticipate every future problem. Those burdens feel noble, but they are heavy, and they were never meant to be carried by one nervous system. Biblical rest invites you to place that weight back where it belongs, not through denial, not through avoidance, but through trust. Trust that you do not have to manage everything alone. Trust that provision is not entirely on your shoulders. Trust that even when things feel unresolved, you are still held. This is why Psalm 23 continues with, "He makes me lie down in green pastures," because sometimes the most loving thing God does is interrupt our constant managing. Green pastures are places where vigilance is unnecessary, where the nervous system receives a new message. You are not responsible for everything. You are watched over. You are allowed to stop. And when that message sinks in slowly, gently, energy begins to return, not because life became easy, but because the burden shifted. This is the beginning of true restoration, not escape from responsibility, but relief from carrying what was never yours to hold alone. God's design for rest as restoration, not escape. Biblical rest was never passive. It was never about collapse. It was never about escape. And it was never about shutting down life. Biblical rest was relational. From the beginning, rest was woven into relationship, not as an afterthought but as a rhythm of trust. When God established Sabbath, He was not giving humanity a productivity hack. He was offering something far deeper, a reminder, a return, a re-anchoring of the nervous system in truth. Sabbath was not simply the absence of work. It was the presence of God. It was the act of stepping out of self-sufficiency and back into dependence, out of striving and into remembering who provides, remembering who sustains, remembering who carries the weight of the world so you don't have to. In Scripture, rest is not about doing nothing. It is about remembering who you are when you stop performing. That is why rest, biblically, is always connected to trust. Trust that the world will not fall apart if you pause. Trust that provision does not disappear when effort slows. Trust that your worth is not measured by output. This kind of rest is not passive, it is courageous. Because to rest in this way requires releasing control. And control is often the last thing a tired nervous system wants to give up. Many of us were taught, subtly or explicitly, that rest must be earned. That stopping is a reward for exhaustion. That slowing down is something you're allowed only after everything is finished. But Scripture tells a different story. Biblical rest comes before collapse, before burnout, before the body breaks down. It is preventative, protective, restorative. It is God's way of saying, "You were never meant to carry this alone." When Isaiah writes, "Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength," he is not describing passive waiting. The word wait here implies attentive trust, a leaning in, a reorientation of the heart. To wait on the Lord is to stop scanning for threats long enough to remember, I am not alone. I am not abandoned. I am not responsible for holding everything together. And notice the promise. Not that strength will be replaced. Not that you will be given a completely new body, but that strength will be renewed. Renewed implies something already present but depleted, something worn thin by pressure, something stretched by long seasons of responsibility, fear, and emotional load. Renewal happens when pressure lifts, when vigilance softens, when the nervous system is finally allowed to stand down from constant alert. This is where neuroscience and Scripture quietly meet, because the nervous system does not restore through effort. It restores through safety. Safety is what tells the brain, you can release now. You don't have to brace anymore. You don't have to stay ready for impact. Biblical rest creates this safety by restoring relationship, by reminding the soul that it is seen, held. No, Psalm 23 does not begin with instruction. It begins with identity. The Lord is my shepherd, not my manager. not my evaluator, not my taskmaster, my shepherd. A shepherd does not drive sheep with pressure. He leads them with presence. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Notice that phrase. He makes me lie down. Because sometimes the nervous system does not know how to stop on its own. Sometimes rest has to be invited, modeled, gently enforced by love. Green pastures are not accidental. They are places of safety, places where scanning can stop, where the body can soften, where hypervigilance is no longer necessary. And only there, in safety, does restoration happen. Not because the sheep worked harder, but because the environment changed. This is why rest without peace does not restore. You can stop activity, but if your nervous system still feels responsible, threatened, or alone, exhaustion remains. Biblical rest addresses the burden beneath the behavior, which is why Jesus says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden." He does not say, "Come to me, all who are busy," or "Come to me, all who are inefficient." He addresses burden, weight, load, the unseen pressure carried in the chest, the jaw, the shoulders, the breath. Jesus offers rest not by removing responsibility immediately, but by sharing the weight. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light. A yoke is shared, meaning you are not meant to pull alone. This is rest as relationship, rest as co-regulation, rest as safety restored through presence. And when the nervous system experiences this kind of rest, not escape, not numbing, not collapse, but belonging, strength returns naturally, not forced, not demanded, but renewed. Gentle reflection. If you feel tired even after rest, your body may not be asking for more sleep. It may be asking for reassurance, for permission to stop bracing, for space to exhale. Tiredness is not a moral failure. It is a signal, a wise one, and God does not shame signals. He responds to them. What if your exhaustion is not proof that something is wrong with you, but evidence that your system has been trying to protect you for a very long time? What if rest is not something you need to earn, but something you need to receive? In future videos, we'll gently explore how the mind can relearn safety and how Scripture helps calm the nervous system over time, not through force, not through pressure, but through presence. Before you go, I'd love to know, what kind of tiredness do you feel most often? Mental, emotional, or spiritual? You can share in the comments. You're not alone in this, and you don't have to carry it all tonight.